Okay, so in this painting tutorial, I'm going to be painting an Ork Boy, and with this you can really use it to paint any Ork units. They're pretty, it's all the same really, just with the armor plates and how everything goes together, it's all the same. This is for my own kind of custom Ork color scheme. It's pretty much just like the normal one with like the brown and black with the red and checkered patterns, but mine's just more with the black. So I'm going to be painting this Ork Boy, and then here's an example of another one I did. This is an old one I made, painted up. But yeah, see, this is really a lot with the reds as armor plates, but black is more the dominant color, and brown on his trousers. But black really is the major component colors for the Orks. And then one I did more recently here, again with the the only thing I do brown on these guys is just their pants, their trousers. Everything else is either black or red, and then I like the nice white checkered patterns. I do that on about, I don't know, it's maybe about 50% of my Orks, maybe a little bit less than that. Don't want to do one on every one of them because it can just start to look too uniform, but I do like painting it. It's fun painting the checkered patterns, so definitely do that a lot. And then just with the mixture of just black panels and red, full red, and then black ones with like a red outline, but black, if it's gonna be the black and the red together, I always do black as the dominant color, and then red is like the sub color. Okay, so just like a quick warning almost. I don't own a whole lot of, like personally, I don't own a whole lot of Citadel paints. I don't know, they're just expensive, and I've had a lot just from previous hobbies and stuff of older paints, like just these kind of big bottles, just standard almost dollar store kind of acrylics. I don't mind using them. I mean, definitely the Citadel paints are much better, and I would recommend just buying the Citadel paints. They work a lot nicer, you know, they turn out a lot nicer, really a lot nicer to paint with, they're not as thick, so to say, so they go on your models nicer, but it's just these are cheaper. You probably get them for the same amount. Yeah, like see, this one was $1 at the dollar store. And you get way more, so I mean, it just depends on what you want. They still work fine in my experience. I mean, yeah, just depends on if you want higher quality or lower cost. So anyways, with that out of the way, we are using I am using two Citadel paints here. Well, one's a wash, and that's Agrax Earthshade. Use that for skin and the weapons, give them a dirty look. And then also for the other one is just Ironbreaker, which I think was Chainmail before, is what it was called. Anyways, yeah, it's those two colors. And then for the other ones, I'm using a red. It's a really dark red, like you can see on these guys here. It's not like an orange red or just a really bright red. No, it's a standard red. Yeah. And then I'm using this color's parchment. Is pretty much white, but it's got a little bit of like a, you can see the difference there between the white and the actual paint color. It's just like a little bit of a tan white, but yeah. And then just a really light gray, and then it's just a standard brown. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about these paints because I don't know the Citadel paints too much. And then black, I can tell you this one, like Chaos Black or Batman Black. That would be the closest color to this, obviously. And this green, I don't know, it's a really vibrant green. And you can see the difference between this green I've used before. It's not, well, is kind of a difference. But anyways, this green is a lot brighter. And then this green is still pretty bright, but it's got more of like that dark, like a deep green almost to it. Still very close. But yeah, so then that, and then just white. I have a big bottle of white paint. Yeah, just basic white. So those are the paints we're using. You'll probably end up using all of these paints for any Ork model aside from green if it's like a Killican or a Def Dread, you know, like some of those vehicles that don't have any Ork skin showing, obviously. So all the rest of these you probably still use. Maybe not so much this one on some of them, but they might have tusks or teeth or something on them somewhere, so yeah. Those are the colors we're going to be using right now to paint this Ork Boy. So when I'm base coating, I use actually quite a large brush. Might be a little bit strange, but I use this brush here. You know, I'm probably gonna get a new one soon enough, but it's just, I don't know, some random brush, dollar store. I've had this brush for a good little while. I like it though because it's got like really thick bristles. So when I'm base coating, I can actually get into the, you know, this stiff. If I had softer bristles and I tried to force it into like under places or whatnot, it wouldn't push in so hard, like the brush isn't so aggressive. But this one is, so I can force it into all the little places and make sure I don't miss any spots. So I don't mind, and it's also really wide, so it helps paint the models quickly, especially with Orks or Imperial Guard. You get a lot in a pack. You might get a couple packs. So you want to, don't want to sit there just base coating, especially if you don't have a spray. You just get a nice big brush like this, and then you can just quickly paint them up. The only downside to using a really big brush is you do risk losing a lot of detail. But yeah, like I said, it's fairly easy with the big brush, and you just get a load of paint on there. I know, pretty rough brush, I know, but yeah, you just pick where you're gonna go. And like I said, just a shirt, well, pretty well, quite a bit of them anyways. And it's okay if you get it on the places that are gonna be green or whatever, any other color later, because you're putting this on first, so you can paint over it later and it'll be fine. Yeah, sorry about that, that was just my phone. Weapons, I'd say just leave them. Like gloves, his hand. It's okay to be quite a bit messy here. Just know, especially if you're painting black, the lighter colors will have, you'll have to put more coats or to really ensure that you cover up all that. But yeah, so you just sit there and you just paint the model. Get his boots here. But yeah, see, like, I don't go back for more paint really when I'm painting with black and with such a wide brush, because that's kind of my technique to use. It's about as much paint as I have to start. It's really all it takes to paint any model that I'll use one of these 1-inch bases. So yeah, just if you can find any little benchmarks like that or ways to remember, that's perfect. But yeah, boots, his shirt, all his armor plates. Some of these little straps and stuff, I don't know if you can see, but he's got a strap there on his arm and the little bindings in his hair. I'll probably just paint brown so I can leave those for now. But yeah, once he's all painted up, just make sure you get everything. You can go ahead and move on to the next color. Okay, so the next color I'm going to be painting is brown. I'm using a smaller brush now, and probably use this one for the skin as well. It's just quite a bit smaller, a bit more control. Softer bristles too, so don't got to worry about it flicking up onto the black or anything. So just get a little bit of paint on your brush, and then we're just going to take the orc here, and as you can see, on the other one, it just goes up to the bottom of that belt. I want to leave as much black as I can, so that belt there in the back I keep black. So, and that goes just obviously just to the top of the boots, and then like I said, any other little straps, or maybe his wrist straps. I mean, on this guy I kept his wrist straps black, but may want to paint them brown. It just depends what you prefer, and probably would do it on some of them, just keep it random, you know, but on this guy I just stuck with the brown trousers, and that was really it. So this guy for sure, paint his trousers, so you just get, you know, just get your brush and just nice straight edge. And the easiest thing I find to do is paint like a border almost around the already painted spots, and you paint that really carefully and slowly, and if you got a nice straight edge you can paint like pretty much right up to it with a nice slow brushing. And then geez, I'm just getting text here, I apologize. But yeah, and you can just paint right up to the edge. That's if it's like an overlapping, but if it's something like this where what you're painting is higher up than the, you know, the part that's already painted, the part you're trying to avoid, then you just, those are they're much easier to keep controlled. You just keep the brush on the raised edge, and you can just paint it up like that. But yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and paint this, and anything else I feel needs to be brown. On the front of this guy, yeah, I just went right up to this, right up below the belt. Yeah, so I suppose the same thing all the way around would make the most sense. Yeah, you just go around, just paint them. Keeping your coats thin, especially if you're painting with an acrylic, you want to keep your coats as thin as possible because it already is really thick paint, and you don't want to lose a whole lot of that detail, which you can very easily with just these acrylics. But yeah, so these painting tutorials I'm going to be doing, am doing, is more for painting to just a real tabletop quality, but not with like all of that like super ultimate skill that's needed, which is good and well. I mean, it does, your models do turn out a hell of a lot nicer, but I don't know, I just don't like spending that much time on my models. Like the really important ones, like leaders and such, I will definitely spend a bit more time on, just because, you know, they're the showpiece models, they're kind of the ones who represent your army, your detachment, whatever force you play. And so, you know, and it's usually only just the one guy, so you can spend a bit more time. I think I'm gonna leave his one glove there black. Yeah, just paint up the strap here, and the strap on his arm. Probably could have used like a detail brush to do this strap, but if you got a bit of control with your brush, you can do just fine with this. And then yeah, I'm thinking that's good. I could do like some of the pouches on here, but I just want to keep this as minimal as possible because I really want to stress that This could take some time, especially if a lot. So the more things that you leave black, sure, it does take down on the detail, but from a tabletop quality, like if you're looking at it from far away or on a battlefield, it doesn't look bad whatsoever. I mean, especially a pouch like that, you're never going to see it unless you're really like from here. You're never going to see it unless you're looking at the model like this. So, yeah, I think that's good for brown. So we'll go to probably green next and get the skin on there. But we're pretty well done here. After we get green, then it's just details. So that's good going. Okay, so yeah, you can just go ahead and get a nice bit of paint on your brush. Sorry about that. And like I was saying, if you just paint really carefully and close up to these edges, you can create sort of a border for yourself. So you're painting within the lines. Yeah, you just you can mess up a little bit. If you can reach, you can just wipe it off. It's fine. But yeah, you just keep it nice and steady, nice and smooth. So you can just paint right in there. Yeah, look at that. I really like this green for the orcs. I like a really bright, vibrant green for the orcs, because, well, for this paint scheme of orcs, anyways, I think if you're doing like, what are they called? The yellow guys, the ones with the yellow armor. Bad moons. Yeah, if you were to be painting bad moons, I don't know. Personally, I'd want a bit of a deeper green or a more. Oops. Just a bit of a darker green or glum, I want to say. You paint his fingers. But yeah, just something like that for those guys. But with a nice, really dark color scheme like this we got going, this really bright green is nice. But yeah, you can just go ahead and start painting them up. Making sure to go slow and painting towards, like right into the already painted areas. Right up on his shoulder there. But yeah, just going slow above all else, especially if you're using a bigger brush. Of course, all depends on your brush control, your skill level, I suppose. But, I mean, painting like this, anyone should be able to do. It's just level of patience, I suppose. Yeah. Now, normally, I would have base coated him entirely in black first, so that when I get to places like the fingers and stuff, I don't have to worry about painting inside the fingers, because it would already be black and give me that nice like dark detail in between the fingers, and which just really helps to bring out the difference in the fingers. But like I was saying, I don't really have a whole lot of black, and I got a bunch of guys to paint, so gotta try and ration out the black as well as I can. Yeah, and he's pretty well good, and you just paint his face. And orcs are pretty fun to paint on their face, because they do really just have so much expression. Oh, oops. Wiped some off. Yeah, they do. They have so much expression. And definitely one thing that's not fun to paint is something with like little to no detail, like really wide areas. It's like especially this issue with like vehicles, because there's not really a whole lot going on. It's just paint this whole big panel the one color, and then that's really it for the whole thing. So it's nice when you're painting orcs. They do have so much expression and so much detail to pick out on their face. It's almost a shame to just use one color on it. Yeah. Anyways, you can go ahead and paint the entirety of his face because there's not really a whole lot of big details going on. Just being careful not to paint over the brown for his little hair wrappings there. Another thing you can do with this paint scheme for the orcs at the very least is see how up here I kind of messed up actually quite a bit, and I got a bunch of green on the armor plate. What I can do for that is I can just paint that armor plate fully red and just use that as just a red armor plate, so I don't have to worry about having to go back with black. I can just move on with my colors and make that red, because that's, if anything, definitely having to go back on a color and redo a color definitely is a time consumer. So if you can avoid backtracking almost when you're painting as much as possible, you'll save as much time, obviously. So yeah, that's good for the skin. Just look around, make sure you got everything. And I would say I did, so we can move on to, I don't know, probably red, I'd say. Yeah, we can do red next. Okay, so for the red on this model in particular, I'm just going to use the same brush again I used for the skin and the pants, because there's not really a whole lot to be painted red, and all the things that do need to be painted red are fairly large. It's not too small details. So, like I was saying earlier about the armor plates here. Yeah, so yeah, I just paint his hair red. Not all of them. All my orcs have red hair. Sometimes they just have black hair or whatever color. But yeah, see, just plate in the front. I was gonna paint plate in the back as well, but I think that would add too much red. So that's it for this guy for red, and then we just have some smaller details to pick out, and the blades as well, and the gun. So can't forget about that. So yeah, so probably what we'll do next is get with the iron breaker. It's a good thing to note, before you're using any of the Citadel paints, especially the metallic ones, just give them a nice good shake beforehand, just to make sure that the paint is all fully mixed in there with all the other chemicals and stuff. So yeah, so you just get a good little bit on your brush, and you can just brush it all right on there. Again, being more careful when you get close to the parts that are already painted. But I'm gonna make the entirety of this weapon with this metal color, silver here. Everything right up to the hilt, right all the way down to the bottom. Little skull looking thing going there. Just paint it all up. And then it's the same deal for the gun. Just paint everything with the iron breaker. So again, just get a nice little bit on your brush, and then just paint them up. Ork guns are fairly easy to paint, just because they're so blocky. Suppose Ork wouldn't want. Well, actually, now I'm thinking about it, a lot of the guns in the 40k universe are pretty blocky. Like the Tau guns are just like a bunch of rectangles. A bolter's fairly blocky, and so is a las gun. I mean, it's got some round bits though. Like the front and all the, you know, the stock and all the tubes that go through it. But well, okay, so the Necron guns not so much. I think they're just their normal guns. And Eldar guns are probably the furthest thing from being blocky there. Fairly round. Anyways, he's also got little earrings in his ear. Since I don't have a whole lot of paint left on my brush, I can use a big one to do this because it's only going to pick out the smallest details when I'm just lightly brushing over top like that. Just like if you're dry brushing. A little bit down the back. But yeah, he's looking good so far, and then yeah, so we'll leave the wash till the end because we're going to use it for a couple other things too. But yeah, we'll go on to his teeth next. So for his teeth, we're going to be using this lighter color because the Orks are not going to have the most pearly whites. So and nails and stuff like that too, we'll be painting with this color. So I'm using a Citadel detail brush for this. I could be using a fine detail brush too, but I find this one is just fine. Just get a little bit of paint on your brush like that. And then just very carefully, you know, picking out the best angles for you. And just very carefully paint up his teeth. This Ork's actually got like some fangs going. Bit strange. But yeah, you can paint up his teeth, and like I was saying, I don't know if most people do paint the fingernails of the Orks, but I find it's a fairly small detail that's worth putting on because it's easy to do, and it can just add so much more to your Ork. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. I know some Orks have like actual like teeth hanging down. You can paint those as well with this, but this guy doesn't have any going on right now, so yeah, once you get that done, that's pretty much it. And then we can get to the wash, and then to the gray, which I'll show you a little technique for that. We'll do that last. Okay, so then for the wash, for just the Agrax Earth shade, gonna be using this brush again. I didn't know I was gonna use this that often, but yeah, and you just paint it on quite a bit to really get. The more you add, again, the more runny it's gonna be, but the better effect it'll give once it's dry. So you just paint that all over. Well, pretty well everything that's silver. You can also add this to his skin too. Just to really get in the lowlights in between his muscles, because that's really nice with the Orks. Put it on his face for sure. Just to really catch all those lowlights and the recesses. Darkens his teeth too. You get it in his hair. And really just gets in all those nice places, and it'll really help bring out the detail from afar. You could do this with this wash to everything, but really if you were going to put a wash on his skin, I would say go for like a green wash. I don't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but like a really dark green wash instead of a brown, because that'll just keep the green more like prevalent. And yeah, once you get all that wash on, you want to see how it brings out all the detail in his face just right away. He's pretty well done. You could leave him at this, but what I like to do with my models, so I have to take this gray and I use it with pretty much everything, every model, or any army almost, because all my armies use a dark, like a black. So this works if your main color for your force is black, or something close to like a really dark color. But what I do is I just make a really light dry brush over, for orcs, only just the clothing and the armor plates, because they don't want to get this on the skin or the weapons. But I know my Space Marines use it on all of it because they're all black. My Imperial Guard, same thing. But yeah, you just take this dry brush, this really light gray, and like I said, a really light dry brush. And to do that, you just get a tiny bit of paint on your brush. So you take some paint in a napkin or a tissue, and you just like wipe it all off on the napkin until you get pretty much just like this tiny little amount going. This actually might even be a little bit too much. Something I check is something I do is I can check on the base, bottom, just see how much I have. That should be fine. And then yeah, and you just brush all of these places. If you get too much, you just wipe it off with your finger and you can get more off. It's pretty much, I don't know, I would almost want to say kind of like a cheat for painting your miniatures. I would actually probably should have waited till the wash was dry before I did this, because I don't want to spread it everywhere. But anyways, yeah, I don't know, it just, what it can do is it really binds these colors together, brings them all to like this sort of a like a flushed tone, so that it goes from like, a really dark, like a really high contrast between the black and the brown on that straight line, to this where it can be like a nice flowing, I mean this like almost exaggerates it too much, but just a nice flow between the black and the brown, because now these two colors have something in common, which is just like this gray dry brush, which I think works really nicely. Again, don't get this on the skin of your orcs or any of the silver places, or even red's not so bad, but it does tend to ruin the red if you get the dry brush on that. So, but yeah, so that's the orc. What you could do after this is go ahead and, like, if you were to put a wash on his skin, after that you'd want to go ahead and just highlight everything with the same green again. I don't know, if you really wanted to, you could paint his eyes, but the orc eyes are pretty small, so I don't know. If you really want to get into the detail, I'm not going to. I realize now there's no room for me to do a checker pattern on this orc, so I'll show you how to do that on another one. I'll just have to find one. I'll just have to get another guy here, another orc, to paint. So yeah, that's how you painted my orc color scheme, and works just good, just fine. So I didn't realize actually up until I was painting his skin, I think, or the red. Yeah, the red. But I actually have nowhere to paint a checker pattern on this orc. I mean, I could try and put it on here, but with the spike in there, it would just make it difficult, and also with the sword in the way. So what I'm gonna do is I have an orc here with a back plate I put on him. I'm just gonna add another row or two of checkers on there. I can show you how to do that like that. So just with the normal pure white. Is how we'll do that. And then probably just a standard brush. You might want to use a detail brush, if you have one, and like a fine detail brush if you have one. And it just depends on how steady of a hand you have, I suppose. do that, you just take the white, open it up. A nice fine tip on your brush. Okay, and then what you want to do here is you just, yeah, see I could even touch this guy's up a bit, make this a bit more square. But the more straight lines you have, like the straighter your lines are, the better this is going to turn out. So you're probably going to be visiting your paint pot for quite often while you're doing this, because you don't want a whole lot of paint on your brush. But what you do is you just go from the corner, you just go about the same size square. When you're doing the edges is usually the easiest. You always start at the edge. It helps determine the width. And then yeah, you just keep going from that. You don't want to go too far below, because if you have them connected like lower down, I can start to lose the effect pretty easily. But yeah, you gotta paint you just paint the outline of the rectangle first. The square is what it should be. That's a little bit long, quite a bit long. But yeah, and then you just fill it in after. You know, let's just do the whole plate. And with here, just pretty much, yeah, right to the edge should be about the same size. And then, yeah, you just keep a steady hand and keep it slow, as even as you can get. And that's good. And that's how you do it. It's fairly basic. You can do it pretty quick, like, and I've done it on this guy we just did. Actually with this guy, if I were to make a quick pointer about my work here, some of these corners a little bit too thick. You want more, like, not so much like this one. See how this one almost looks like they're sliding over each other? You want corners more like this one. See this one? No, not so much, but this one is good. If you get corners like that with even squares, it's good. But yeah, other than that, that's all it takes. That's all it is to it. Usually do that last. Maybe you could do it while you're doing all the other details, like with the teeth or something. But just make sure to use the actual pure white when you're doing this, because it looks a lot nicer. And well, in my opinion, it just helps to brighten it up, and also differentiates between orc tooth and what, you know, just the different colors. Makes it not look so basic or uniform. So anyways, that's how you paint an Ork Boy. You can do this, like I said, with any of your Ork models. Bikes will work, everything will work. If you use just black as a major color, brown for straps in an Ork Boy's or in Ork Boy's case, or knobs or anything like that, like infantry, you do their pants, and then, you know, it's just straps and stuff like that for bikers. I know they have pants too, anything like that. Yeah, black is the main color, and then if you just take red and you just pick out some armor plates here and there, you know, maybe some like these little orc glyphs, like what he's got down on his belt there. I don't know if you can see that. Anything like that, you might want to do red. And yeah, just keep it not like, if you have just little tiny bits of red throughout, it might start to lose the effect and just look weird. But if you have like full metal plates here and there, like I know, like the orc trucks have just a lot of metal plates, especially on the back. If you just pick out like a whole one of those and paint it red every here and there, or some pipes or whatever going around, yeah, it'll help just to really diversify it and get that red scheme going. The really aggressive orcish red. But yeah, you could, like on this guy, I do have blood for the Blood God, which is a new Games Workshop technical paint. and it looks really nice. It's just a lot easier to paint blood with. It looks really nice. I mean, that's exactly what it's for. It's just for painting like blood splatters on weapons. And to do that, you just take it and then you just run it like lengthways across the weapon. Well, in the direction that he would be striking. So if he's like coming down like that, he has to kind of almost up the arc from the bottom up. And it's pretty easy. And you can take a little stippling brush too, and you just put some like flick it onto him. It creates a nice, neat little blood splatter effect. But yeah, so that's how you paint. That's how I paint my orcs. Hopefully you'll do it like this too. I mean, it's a lot easier, and it's pretty quick. You don't get a whole lot into the detail work, and it looks very nice.